Hi. Another horror picture that I saw recently, and which was rather a surprise, was The Legend of Hell House. Um, it's quite a generic haunted house picture in many ways, but it felt a little bit more something else. A scientist is hired by an aging, possibly dying millionaire, it's not really made clear, to investigate a supposedly haunted house which has claimed victims in the past. He goes along with his wife, the survivor of the previous expedition, and a young psychic. And the four of them spend the week leading up to Christmas investigating this house, trying to understand the bizarre events that happened there and the life of the dissolute Satan worshipping owner. Um, to my surprise, a lot of the film is actually pretty good. There is a very moody, menacing, brooding atmosphere thanks to John Hough, the director, better known, of course, as the director of Biggles' Adventures in Time. And uh, there is a fantastic score by Delia Derbyshire and Brian Hodgson, um, who I think were still at the BBC Radiophonic Workshop at the time, um, who pr- produce a series of atonal noises and atmospherics that really create a very uh, intense, suspenseful atmosphere. And the interplay between the characters also works extremely well. And I was really engaged and really uh, riveted for the vast majority of the running time. It's only really at the end where the film completely falls apart with the huge climax of a massive haunting and various characters being killed off, and we are finally introduced to the owner of the house, whose preserved corpse is hidden behind a wall and is played by a special guest star, whose name I won't spoil. You can look it up. It's not hard to find out, but I won't spoil it for those who want it to stay secret. But when it's revealed exactly why the the villainous owner of the house was committing all these horrific atrocities and what his exact um, uh, psychology was, and spoiler, and I'll hold up a hand as I say the spoiler, it's because he was short. It's because he was short. Not a dwarf, just short. Okay, that's the spoiler out of the way. Um, it's so laughable and it's so ridiculous that I found it impossible to take the film seriously after that. It does feel like it's been cobbled together slightly. There is that running element of it being set in the week before Christmas, and we have date captions at the bottom of the screen, and even at time captions for some sequences, which give it a more documentary air. And it's presented as though this is not a true story, but this is something that might have happened. Um, so it's trying to give it a verisimilitude that reminds me of The Stone Tape, Nigel Neal's terrific 1973 television play about a scientific investigation of a haunted house. Um, but despite the skill of the writer, Richard Matheson is a great writer and has produced many great works, most notably the novel I Am Legend, repeatedly filmed with the likes of Vincent Price, Charles Heston, and Will Smith in the lead role. Um, but despite the atmospherics, despite the committed acting, despite the very strong production design, I think, the fact that it has such an absurd final twist um, really kind of hobbles it, and I think it's possibly the reason why it's not terribly well known.